Please join me in welcoming President of the National Offshore Wind Training Center and of the Nassau and Suffolk County Building Trades Council, Maddie Arasich. Executive Director of Citizens Campaign for the Environment, Adrian Esposito. Secretary Treasurer of the National Offshore Wind Training Center, Roger Clayman. Suffolk County Executive, Steve Ballone. And now, please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Thank you. The day has finally arrived. First of all, I know many of our state and assembly partners were acknowledged, and I appreciate all they do for us. First of all, let's start with Steve Ballone. You'll be hearing from Steve in a couple of minutes, but thank you for getting this over the finish line, into the end zone, the home run, whatever the sports analogy wants, you got the job done, working in great partnership, and that's what leadership's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, our great county executive, Steve Ballone. You'll also be hearing from Roger Clayman, the Secretary Treasurer of the National Offshore Wind Training Center. Kind of got a big bump in title there since Long Island Federation, right? Very impressive, Roger. Great to have you as a partner on this as well. Adrian Esposito, Citizens Campaign for the Environment. Nothing of consequence related to the environment happens on Long Island without you being involved in your incredible organization. Let's give her another round of applause as well. Maddie Arasich, the President of the Building and Construction Trades Council of Nassau and Suffolk counties, and also President of the National Offshore Wind Training Center. This is being built by hard-working men and women of labor here on Long Island. I want to thank you for being their leader as well. You heard their names, but I'm going to say them again because this is the dream team that you sent to Albany to represent you, and one of the reasons we have resources coming back constantly to Long Island. Senator John Brooks, let's give him a round of applause. Senator Kevin Thomas is here. Assembly Member Steve Engelbright's here. Assembly Member Chuck Levine is here. Assembly Member Taylor Darling. Assembly Member Kim Jean-Pierre is here. And all the partners in government, Commissioner Dominguez and Doreen, whenever Doreen's there, you know good things are happening as well. So I want to thank you for your great leadership of NYSERDA as well. Doreen Harris, and also everyone from Eversource and Orsted and everyone who made this happen, magically happen, as well as our host here at the Suffolk Community College. This is a great organization. It's the largest community college system in our state, over 22,000 young people being educated here, and I want to thank the president here for joining us as well. We also have the presidents of Farmingdale here. Is John here? John's here, John Nader. And Stony Brook, our flagship institution. So let's make sure we give a round of applause for Maureen as well. Thank you. And I'm glad to be back on Long Island again, once again, talking about the future. And we know that the future does lie in clean energy, and right here that means offshore wind. I have been talking about this for such a long time, speaking at offshore wind conferences in the city and all over, because I've always believed that this is the place that we could designate as the epicenter of the offshore wind industry, not just for this state, but for this country. And today we're here to talk about the steps to make that happen. But I also come here with this strong sense of history, not just about the future, we're talking about the history, because I grew up in a part of our state where there wasn't a lot of reverence for the environment. When you grew up in Lackawanna, New York, and as a child you just assumed that the skies were supposed to be orange because that's the color of the smoke billowing out of the smokestacks where Dad and Grandpa and his brothers worked. Lackawanna, New York, where I was born. But also not just the air, the water. One of the largest freshwater bodies of water on this earth, Lake Erie, was contaminated, and we visibly saw the daily dumping of, looks like molten lava into that lake. And we swam in that lake. It's actually amazing that we're all still alive when you think about it. but it was a time when people put the premium on the jobs. And literally this was just down the road from Love Canal. So when you talk about being an environmentalist, this is the world I came from, because I've seen the scourge of assaults from mankind on Mother Nature and what it did. And I'm proud to have lived at a time when we had the enlightened view that should stop, but also how do we transition to a different future? Yes, that is in the rearview mirror now, but what does the new future look like? And it really truly is offshore wind. I mean, this is where it's happening. It's plentiful supply. It's God-given. It's always going to be there. And I'm so proud that we can make these changes because we've seen the battering that Long Island has taken as a result of climate change. I've said before, we're the first generation to really feel the effects of climate change. We're also the last generation that can do anything about it. And we think about what happened with Sandy just a decade ago. I was going to say we're going to celebrate. You don't celebrate a hurricane that took the lives of countless innocent people, destroyed livelihoods, destroyed businesses, battered our psyche when you felt so vulnerable. And we've been spending a decade rebuilding, but you're always feeling that vulnerability again, that there's always that next storm, the so-called 500-year, 1,000-year events that come every couple of years now. So those once-in-a-generation ideas seem to pop up every year somewhere in our state. Unbearable heat waves that are happening all over our country. Volatile energy costs driven because of climate change. And truly a worsening of the quality of life for everyone. That's the cost of climate change. And we will be the ones who are judged by how we seize this moment. And do we really make a difference? Or we just pass the torch to the next generation and say it's their problem? That's not happening in our New York. And it's not happening here on Long Island. We have the opportunity to seize this moment, to think boldly, and go into the future together. And that's exactly what we're doing here in New York with the most ambitious energy and emissions reduction plans in the state. And Doreen, if you find another state that thinks they're getting better than us, you let me know, and we'll up ours. Okay, I'm very competitive, very competitive. 70% of electricity from renewables by 2030. 2030 is right around the corner. I can feel 2030 coming. It's not that far off anymore. 70% of electricity from renewables, 85% economy-wide emission reductions by 2050. I spent my entire first year in office focused on these goals, and I'm focused on realizing that it is truly, the answer is with offshore wind. I think about the Fleetwood Mac song. Anybody hear Fleetwood Mac? You're all, right. Did they play Fleetwood Mac when you walked in? I hope they play it when we walk out. But the song says, listen to the wind blow. Watch the sun rise. My friends, the wind is blowing in New York, and the sun is rising on our clean energy future thanks to sunrise wind. That was good, wasn't it? You guys? Want me to say that again? We are the epicenter of offshore wind, and I put $500 million of investment, not just for the programs themselves, but also for the supply chain, because it's great to say we can do this, but if the component parts are coming from Germany and are being stuck on cargo ships that don't make it here, we're not where we need to be. I want it all built right here in New York. We have a legacy of building here in this state. We can do it here. Let's make it in New York. So we're already creating opportunities. We have 5 offshore wind projects underway in the South Fork Wind Farm. We've been here for many of the milestones for that. And it is creating a whole ecosystem. And what I see is such win-win or win-win opportunities with other parts of our state to do this manufacturing. Up in Albany, the Port of Albany, making parts of wind turbines, shipping them down the Hudson River, reversing the trajectory of Henry Hudson in 1600s as he explored commerce in upstate. Now we're bringing it down here to help build what we need to do to create the whole system. But also, and through that, we'll have over 9,000 megawatts of offshore wind, enough to power over 6 million homes. 6 million homes that otherwise would be having to be powered by fossil fuel generated sources. But also, the most exciting part for me is I talk about coming from Lackawanna and Buffalo. I know what it's like when jobs are roaring, and I also know what it feels like when they're all gone. They dissipate when an industry goes away overnight. So when I'm able to say that this project will bring 10,000 good paying jobs to Long Island, that gets my attention as well. I'm very excited about that. So many of them are union jobs, good paying jobs, and that's on top of the 164,000 New Yorkers who are already working in clean energy. So we're just continuing to up the numbers. So the jobs and opportunities are there. But how you make the connection, okay, the jobs openings are there, the people are over here, how do you blend the two? I think we have some young people here. I don't know if you've thought about careers in offshore wind. Okay, you have? Okay. All your classmates talking about it too? Okay, that's okay. We're making progress. We're making progress here. So I see the future before me. This is great. But there's a lot of people, perhaps some person who had a job that's now displaced, pandemic or other reasons, their company went away, downsized. Young people, people in communities of color, they don't have role models in this industry. A lot of women, I go to job sites every single week. Sometimes it's tech, sometimes it's construction. I'm always saying, and where are the women? We could do better here. So that happens with an intentional effort. You don't just hope it happens. You put out goals. You reach out to communities that aren't used to being reached out to, and you also can say we can make a difference. But let's lead them by the hand to the opportunities to get training in the jobs where they can support themselves, raise a family, live a high quality of life that we have right here on Long Island. So here's what we knew. We need the jobs, we need to do something important. So today, I'm taking a major step toward this, the culmination of a lot of hard work from people sitting in the front row. And I'm proud to have been joined by my partners in government and the private sector to officially formalize the successful land transfer from New York State to Suffolk County to bring a national offshore wind training center to Long Island, a national offshore wind training center right to Long Island, right here. So congratulations, congratulations, we're gonna make it happen. Stop talking about it, let's do it. Let's get the job done. And to Steve, our county executive, who worked tirelessly, saw a vision, bringing together labor, academia, private sector. This is how you make the magic happen. And I can feel it here. I can feel the energy, the clean energy that's going on in this, with this kind of, you like that? I got friends in the front row. I might do it my own comedy routines. I do love Mrs. Maisel, that's another whole story. This is a $10 million investment. $10 million investing in our energy and our workforce, funded by Ørsted and Eversource. Let's give them a round of applause once again. Thank you to our partners. Thank you. Two of our most valued and collaborative partners, because we know New Yorkers have the best workforce in this country. That's one of the reasons I was able to land a company called Micron. Have you heard of Micron? 50,000 jobs. All I had to talk about was quality of life and the caliber of our workforce. I said, no one works harder than New Yorkers. It's in our DNA. It's how we're hardwired. We work hard, we put in long hours, but we see the benefits for our families. That's the world I came from. That's the world I want to leave for our children as well. So we will continue to attract more developers when I can talk to them about the workforce that's sitting there trained, operative word, trained and ready to step in these jobs. So these are very specific skills. They're not any that I ever expect to have. That's all right, give somebody else the job. But we have training in height training. I think I would not like that either. Sea and fire survival, that sounds a little scary. I don't know if I want to have a course in that, but communication skills and global wind organization training. But there's opportunities for apprenticeships, professional certification, advanced degrees. There's no stopping us. I mean, there are so many levels of opportunity depending on how much time you want to invest, where you want to end up, where you want to take your career. And so all of this, and again, labor, you kept fighting to make this happen. And all of us are building this future together. Every single construction job will be paid a prevailing wage, as they should be. And next year we'll all be back for the ribbon cutting when we open next October. The training center will be housed in the future Brentwood Community Center. Finally get that one finished. Let's get that done. It'll be a one-stop shop for training, development, and education in Brentwood. And Brentwood's an incredibly diverse, fascinating community. It truly is. It's America in one community, and I love it. And to be able to have this here where there's a school to jobs pipeline, where young people can see a path to get out of their circumstances and to lift themselves up, This was the vision behind this project. I think it's extraordinary. Once it's up and running, this training center will collaborate closely with our state's Offshore Wind Training Institute and establish more collaboration and cross opportunities with workforce development. So our second announcement here today is this Offshore Wind Training Institute. We're now announcing $9 million in grants for offshore wind workforce development and training initiatives. Let's help others come to the table. That'll help vocational programs, high school, community college, trades associations, unions, everybody who's part of this whole opportunity that's lying before us. Let's give them the money to get started because we cannot wait another day. Everything matters now. The steps we take today, the urgency that we bring to this, means that we're going to get it done because we've waited too long. We've waited too long to capitalize on this opportunity, to bring this incredibly clean source of energy to our homes, and I'm not waiting another second. So we're going to be able to do this. We're going to be bringing more women, more minority partners, displaced union workers, people from underserved communities. They will be the workforce of today and tomorrow with this program. So I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to partnering. I'll be back again for many, 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 many more ribbon cuttings. But you made it happen, everyone. Everyone involved in this, I want to give you, from the bottom of my heart, a huge thank you. Because with this announcement, we're changing lives. We're changing lives today for the people who get this training, they get the skills, they can have a good paycheck, take care of their families, but ultimately the lives of generations yet to be born because of the work we're doing to ensure a clean energy future that starts right here on Long Island. So thank you, everybody. And with that, let me bring up our great county executive who made this happen. He would not give up. He just kept persevering, and that's the kind of caliber we have in our county executive, Steve Malone. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our great Governor Kathy Hochul, who just announced that she is once again delivering for Long Island in a big way by bringing the National Offshore Wind Training Center here to Long Island and Brentwood specifically. Governor, thank you for that incredible announcement, and thank you for your leadership on this. We are so grateful, and I want to thank all of our partners who are here, of course, our host, Dr. Bonu, President Stony Brook, Suffolk Community College, which, Governor, I like to say, no offense to anyone else, the best community college anywhere in the state of New York. I'm not asking for a response. Of course, Stony Brook University President Murray McGinnis and SUNY Farmingdale President John Nader. We're very happy, these incredible institutions, academic institutions we have here. The LIPA leader is here also, Tom Falcone. Thank you for being here. I want to thank all of my legislative partners here. The governor thanked me, but I couldn't do any of the work we're doing here locally without their great work and support for offshore wind and for the Workforce Development Center. Our minority leader, Jason Richburg, is here. Legislator Sarah Anker. Legislator Tom Donnelly. Legislator Al Krupski. And his district, Legislator Sammy Gonzalez. Thank you very much, Sammy. As well as Islip Councilman Jorge Guadron. Thank you to all of our partners here. To our friends in labor and the environment who are going to be speaking in just a few moments. This has been an incredible partnership. My thanks to our team. Our labor commissioner, Rosalie Drago, has done an incredible job. Workforce development expert. Our former Chief of Staff and Labor Commissioner Sam Chu is here. I want to thank him as well, a leader in this industry. Our Deputy County Executive John Kamen and Deputy County Executive Vanessa Baird Streeter. Thank you for your leadership as well. And thank you to the Brentwood community. As the governor just said here, this is an amazing community. And it is a statement that the governor and her leadership has brought this National Offshore Wind Training Center to this community, to Long Island, of course, because this is going to help lift people all across our island and help train people for the jobs of the future, the jobs that are coming now because of the governor's leadership. But this community in particular is, it's so appropriate that this center, the Brentwood Workforce Development Center, again, because of your leadership, Governor, is happening here. And what's incredible here, as the governor stated, because of her leadership, because of the work that she's been doing, because of the investments that the state has been making, not only is the state of New York, but Long Island itself the epicenter of this industry in our nation today. Because of Governor Hochul, New York is the leader in a clean energy economy for our country and globally as well. And it is happening here on Long Island in a big way, Governor, and we are so grateful for that. But as the governor said, it's not just about creating the jobs, although 10,000 jobs, that's a lot of what we're talking about here. That's incredible, and we know more will be coming. But what the governor is thinking about, and why we're so grateful here for that, is she's thinking about who's going to be filling those jobs and making sure that everyone in our community, in our county, across Long Island, has the ability and the capacity to access those jobs. And that's what this Workforce Development Center is all about, making sure the skills and the training are provided to everyone in every community across this great island of ours. And that's very, very important. And that's happening, again, because the governor has made it happen. And we can't thank you enough, Governor. This is an exciting day for Long Island. It's an exciting day for this community in Suffolk County, but this really is all about Long Island. It's an historic day. Governor, we thank you very much. With that, bring forward my good friend, formerly with the Long Island Federation of Labor, but of course now a driving force for the National Offshore Wind Training Center that the governor has announced here today, Roger Clayman.
Thank you, Steve. And yes, the Long Island Federation of Labor reached into the bullpen today. John Durso is sorry that he couldn't be here, but I'm happy on his behalf to have this opportunity to thank you, Governor, for coming to Long Island to make these two very significant announcements about further investments in workforce training, as well as the completion of the agreement to transfer that piece of property to the county so that it can be used for many different things, but really some things that are quite unusual, and mostly to enlarge the vision of young people living in Brentwood into what better career opportunities they might choose, and particularly in this growing offshore wind industry. Also, the creative vision of County Executive Steve Bellone, we think, will transform this vacant piece of property across the street into a center where a lot of positive things will happen for young people as they look forward to a constructive way to gain lasting careers. And many of those careers we know will be in offshore wind. From our perspective at the Long Island Federation of Labor, the emphasis that Governor Hochul has given to workforce training is remarkable. And remarkable is not a good enough word, really, for that emphasis. Look what's been done under the governor's leadership. We have a law that requires project labor agreements in this industry, labor peace agreements, Buy American, that encourages local employers, American employers, to get into the supply chain. Other workforce investments beyond this one. I mean, this is one of many that have been made by this governor. Will have a workforce that is ready to make this industry successful. And let's not forget that these investments are going hand in hand with the recognition on the part of our leaders, our elected leaders, that we're confronting a serious problem with climate change. So we're not only taking care of our workforce, we're addressing a planetary problem. This is not the history of industrial development in the United States. This is unique. What we are doing here is putting the workforce first, making certain that there are good wages and benefits in this workforce, that there are unionized jobs, which will ultimately strengthen our communities. That's not the way it's been done, and so, Governor, you deserve a lot of credit for changing American history. So the facility in Brentwood will be the home of the National Offshore Wind Training Center, which we've entered into in a partnership with Maersk Training, which is an elite, really, worldwide offshore wind training organization. Our purpose is to provide global wind organization certifications to the workforce so that they can work safely. And it's also going to have this side benefit of making Steve's vision come to life, of helping the community understand this and bring our partners in the industry together to show the youth in the community what a good career path can be in offshore wind industry. I want to thank our partners in this, and I want to start with Jennifer Garvey from Ørsted and Eversource. I can't see her, but I know she's here. Oh. You know, their commitment to this training center has been special, but it's not just the money. It's the kind of leadership in bringing the community together. I want to thank Ed Bonahue, the president of Suffolk Community College, and Lou Patrizzo, who together have been an important part of this decision-making process. And working with them has opened my eyes. I know why this is a great college now, because of those two. Matty Arasich, president of the Building Trades, heads this operation up, and he's been fantastic to work with, and his knowledge in the construction industry is just invaluable to all of us. Daniel Lloyd from Minority Millennials has been an important link for us. Very important, because part of this is outreach to communities who have not had the opportunity to work in some of the new industries. Adrian Esposito, who you'll hear from next, has been very significant in bringing the community behind this so that there's support for it. Phil Ruggiel from the Institute for Workforce Advancement, promoting composite training. This will be a part of this so we can stimulate manufacturing industries here on Long Island. So I also want to thank members of our board, Jim Shillito, from the Utility Workers Local 1-2, the IBEW, Jen Duck has represented them in this, and the Blue Green Alliance. Thank all of them for their help. Thank you, Governor Hochul, again. We're very committed to making sure this process works in all the areas that we've outlined here to make this a great development for Long Island and for New York. Thank you very much. And with that, I want to bring up one of the great partners we've had with labor is the environmental movement, and it's synonymous with Adrian Esposito. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, it's one thing to have a vision for the future, but it's another thing to make that vision a reality. And that's exactly what Governor Hochul is doing. We are changing our reality. We are not only transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy and breaking the shackles that keep us addicted to fossil fuels, but we're creating a whole new green economy and creating jobs for those that need it most. That is a significant, meaningful, historical change. And for the young people here, you are actually living history. Roger reminded me that we've been working on this particular set of wind farms for 10 years. I see Gordy and Reiki in the audience. We were working on wind for the last 2 decades, and now it's a reality. We have been addicted to fossil fuels and had a global oil economy based on fossil fuels since the Industrial Revolution, and now it's changing. It's changing because of New York. It's changing because of leadership, Governor Hochul's leadership, and it's changing because of partnerships. We have been working very hard with our brothers and sisters in labor. It's been a pleasure with all levels of government, with academia. As a matter of fact, we're working so much together, some people think Roger Clayman is the executive director of Citizens Campaign for the Environment. But what this is doing is that it's not only lifting up individuals, because when you give people jobs, you lift them up. Then you lift up families, then you lift up communities, and then you lift up a region. So this is a vision that is lifting up our region. And I will tell you, no true change happens without public sentiment behind that change. And this is how you continue the public engagement, support, and involvement for this significant transition. So thank you again for everyone. I want to also thank the leadership in the environmental community. We have so many of them with us today. I see our great friends at the Nature Conservancy are here. I see folks from New York League of Conservation Voters. I see Rob DiGiovanni from AMC's. North Shore Land Alliance is here. Who else do I see here? Oh, Students for Climate Action is here, Melissa. New York Offshore Wind Alliance, and our good friends at the Sierra Club. And also Gordian from RELY, Renewable Energy Long Island. So I want to thank all the partners, and I want to thank people for banding together to make this change. And I really do believe that history will look back upon at this moment as a moment when we worked together, we fought together, and we made meaningful, significant change together. We're going to create jobs, we're going to save the planet, and we're going to change our addiction from fossil fuels to renewables. That's pretty darn significant. Thank you to Governor Hochul and her team. All your work is really meaningful to each person as an individual, and that's what government should be about. Thank you. Oh, and now, last but not least, the one and only Matthew Arison from the Long Island Building Trades. Matthew.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here, and I will just simply say, there's nothing else to say, so you guys can go. There's been a lot said here, and when I say that, it's because there's an all-encompassing effort from government, academia, building trades, environmentalists, et cetera. It's not an easy task, but I will tell you that we all worked in unison. I'd like to begin by thanking a few people that are here. I want to make sure that we acknowledge those that are important in what we do. I want to acknowledge that we have Tim McCarthy, we have Kevin Casey, and the group from Local 25 IBEW, Joe Montalbano, Nick English from Local 66. We have Steve McCann and Chris Sorensen from the Dock Builders 1556, as well as Brian Lemaire from 740, Teamsters 282, Mike Bergal and Bill Sweeney, and then from DC 9, Raymond Festa. That's just some of them. That's some of the acknowledgments, but I want to also let you know that there's a lot more. As I look into the audience, there are a lot of people that were actually missed. One of them is Doreen Harris from NYSERDA. Her involvement from the very beginning actually made it very easy for us to go ahead and work together. working with people like Gary LaBarber, who actually was able to get in labor standards through the state, working with the Assembly, working with people such as Steve Engelbright, Chuck Levine, Taylor Darling, Jean-Pierre, and everybody else, working with the governor, who, by the way, I've known her so long that I'd like to call her family. I say that because we think alike. We see the same vision. We have the same thoughts. We have the same drive. And I say that because when you're looking at all the things that she's accomplished, I actually want to do the same things. You want to make sure that workforce development is the key to making sure that everything is successful. So for that, I am in your great debt for all that you have done and all that you are continuing to do. And we have a latecomer, which I caught out of the corner of my eye, Ryan Stanton from the Long Island Federation of Labor. The very first element in changing the direction of disadvantaged communities begins with hope. So how do you spell hope? It's H-O-C-H-U-L. Today, we take the next great step in connecting Long Island's workforce to the heart of a new economy for the state of New York. And I'd like to express my sincerest appreciation to Governor Hochul for her leadership in advancing the offshore wind industry here on Long Island. It is, like I said before, a monumental task. She's delivered on her promise of making the workforce development a top priority, and today she proved it. In addition to that, the conversations we have about who is going to be in this workforce. Today, Long Island is 53.4% non-white. So the people that are going to get these jobs, we're going to make sure that we go to disadvantaged communities, men and women of color, so we can tackle diversity and inclusion issues. And the thing that's most important here is we're giving them the jobs not because they want them, not because they need them, because they deserve them, just like everybody else on Long Island. And that is the key. We talk about investments. Investments all too often are actually viewed as monetary issues, making more interest on your money. The best investment you can make is in your people, in students, in education, in workforce. It pays for itself in dividends. Those dividends are getting people off subsistence by the means of using assistance to get them so that they have a middle-class income. They have benefits. They have a retirement, so they could live, work, play, and stay here on Long Island. That is the goal. My experience tells me that nobody looks for a handout, not in the building trades, not in labor. They just want some assistance so that we can go ahead and do the things we do best. That's organize. Because whether you're a man, woman, doesn't matter what color, race, etc., there's always a place for you in the building trades. The answer is we want to make sure we create the strongest, safest, most educated and well-trained workforce in the nation. We know that we could do that because we're the model for success. I say that because workforce development through the building trades actually educates more people through our apprentice programs than all private colleges combined. And when they leave, there's no cost. Everything is actually done at the expense of the building trades members. So they take care of their own, and they'll embrace everybody else to go ahead and make sure that they get the opportunity as well. Forgive me, I have to move my healthcare form back. Somebody slipped that in there. Labor stands in unison as the governor announced a new funding stream for across the street will become the National Offshore Wind Training Center. You've heard people thank people before, but I want to tell you that the one who carries the weight on this, not the person here who's the president, it's Roger Clayman. Roger Clayman's accomplished more in what we're doing. Because he is working on this part-time, I will tell you that he puts a full-time effort in, and we wouldn't be where we are today without his leadership, without his participation, and the same goes true for Lou Petrizzo. Working with them in unison has been the best thing for me. It's opened my eyes to new things. And you think at 61 years old, you basically have seen everything. The answer is no. We're only starting. This is a new industry where in 2013, It began as a concept with a letter, memorandum of understanding, through Clint Plummer to move this whole direction and make sure offshore wind was the thing of the future. The idea was it was between a $35 and $40 million venture. Today, that stands at $70 billion just for New York. And if you look along the eastern seaboard, it's almost $250 million with all of the gigawatts that we're producing in the future. That's economic development, and will help those that have lost their jobs from fossil fuels to transition to a new economy, and they could do it with skill. It opens up the door to new technologies for everything else. It opens supply chains, and it's a catalyst for innovation. And that's what New York and the country does best. We build our way out of trouble. And if you're looking at the news and you hear about a recession that's looming, I will tell you that Long Island is near close to being recession-proof. And that's due to the efforts of Governor Hochul. So thank you again. There's a couple other people I'd like to thank, and those are actually the ones behind this whole vision. Along with Steve Bellone, he works with his Deputy County Executive as well as Commissioner of Labor, whose vision to move into a program for the center is actually a thing that works very well for all of us. It's a symbiotic relationship, ensuring that people of the community are afforded the opportunities to see things. It's not just offshore wind. It's the idea of engaging them so that they can open their eyes and see whatever the future is, so they can take new paths, new careers, new direction, and work their way out of poverty to have a middle-class income and be able to start on their own. That's, again, one of the goals that we have as well. So in closing, I want to say that I want to thank the governor for creating the Canvas for Labor. We're simply provided the materials to paint this picture, but I will tell you, we are up to the task, and when we're done, this will be a masterpiece. Thank you.
That concludes today's event. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you again soon.